And hello, everybody. Welcome into the only sports talk show that really matters right here on IUP-TV. It's The Big Hit. We've got a ton of sports to discuss today, as always. We're going to begin in our Red Zone recap, discussing everything in the world of the NFL and college football. Quite a win for the Pittsburgh Steelers over the Indianapolis Colts. We'll discuss that and ask if Ben Roethlisberger is an elite quarterback. We'll also ask, should there be an NFL team across the pond in London? And then in college football, what an exciting game in Happy Valley between Penn State and Ohio State. Then we're going to send it on to the rapid fire here with Malusi Kitchen and Kyle Kondor. They've got a 10-pack of questions to answer this time, ranging from every sport. Should be a lot of fun here in the new and improved rapid fire. And then it's the NBA preview. Vaughn Dalzell will be your host. He will guide you through everything in the world of the NBA. And then it's the 2-minute drill. Kyle Kondor is here, and he is ready to talk about everything in the world of sports. I think it's No Shave November, so we'll have to just see what Kyle Kondor has in store for us. It's The Big Hit on your television right now. And hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome into the only sports talk show that really matters right here on IUP-TV. It's The Big Hit. We're elated that you've joined us for the next hour to discuss all things in the world of sports. We're going to begin here in the Red Zone recap discussing the world of the NFL. And joining us for that, it's our NFL analysts, Sean Fritz and Cody Benjamin. Guys, let's go ahead and jump in with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Quite a theme here on The Big Hit. We like to talk Steelers football, and why wouldn't you after what happened last week? The Steelers outlasting the Colts 51-34. Both teams now 5-3 on the year. With a 2-game winning streak, are the Steelers finally back on track? Some tough teams, but they've really rebounded nicely.
I don't know quite yet. I think it could just be a factor of, maybe they're just a streaky team. You see teams in the NFL go through things like this all the time. Although they have looked good the past 2 weeks, especially in the Indianapolis game. Steelers offense just completely dominating. Big Ben especially, I think it was 6 touchdowns. An incredible performance by him. I think when you're saying are they back on track, I think we're definitely going to find out this Sunday night against Baltimore, one of the biggest games of the year for them. And if I'm not even considered if they're going to win the game, but if they can go out and perform and execute consistently, I think that there's a good chance that they're going to be back on track with New York and Tennessee coming up before the bye week.
Yeah, I agree with you, Sean. I think it's monumental that Ben threw 6 touchdowns. Obviously, the Steelers had some red zone problems earlier this year, and I think we've seen the good and the bad from the Steelers. And like you said, the Ravens game will kind of be a better test of where they're at right now. Obviously, I don't think they could have performed better against the Colts. 40-49, Ben was against Indianapolis, but if they're able to, like you said, at least show that they're resilient against Baltimore, who played them very well earlier this season, that'll be a key test for them. And then winnable games against the Jets and Titans. So certainly on the right track, I'd say.
And the Steelers really did well on third down, especially on the offensive side of the football. 8 of 13, 8 of their first 11 against an Indianapolis Colts team that is tremendous on third down, third in the NFL as far as third down defense is concerned. But you both mentioned Ben Roethlisberger, and how couldn't you? What a game for him. 522 yards and 6 touchdowns on Sunday. An interesting dynamic with Ben Roethlisberger as he came into the game outside the top 15 in both total QPR, completion percentage, and yards per attempt. After a game like this, though, would you put Ben Roethlisberger in that elite class of quarterbacks in the National Football League?
I think you absolutely have to put Ben in this category. I think not only do you just look at his past, 2 Super Bowl rings, and a leader since for the past decade in the city of Pittsburgh, but I think that you look at the quarterbacks today, Ben is definitely one of those guys that makes the players around him better. And I think when you talk about any elite quarterback, that's definitely a factor that plays into it. He had a great game this week, but obviously he's not going to put up those type of numbers every week. If he can put up half of that for the next couple of games, I think the Steelers would be just fine with that. But when you talk about elite, I want to say top 10 for Ben, but I don't think top 5 right now in his career.
I feel like he's always been up there in the top 5 to 7 range. Unlike some of those guys up there, like your Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, those guys are kind of consistently putting up big numbers, whereas Ben's kind of a guy that, he's elite in the fact that he'll get the job done and he'll win the game for you. But in this game, he just put up the numbers. And I would say he is up there in the categories with, we've got to put Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, And I think Ben falls right around that category, right below them.
Yeah, it was really incredible. Ben Roethlisberger, the first quarterback in NFL history with multiple 500-yard passing games, and also set franchise records for passing yards and touchdowns. A really nice game for Ben and the Pittsburgh Steelers. A statement win against a good Indianapolis Colts team. But let's go ahead and move to the NFC, and a team that is not doing so hot right now, despite their win. That, of course, being the Seattle Seahawks, beating Carolina 13-9 in a back-and-forth NFC showdown. Do you think the Seahawks off-the-field issues are going to affect their chances of repeating as Super Bowl champions? Tough to do enough. Issues like this shouldn't help, probably.
I think they're already struggling from a Super Bowl hangover, and I think the off-the-field issues are just, I mean, they're no help at all. You lose Percy Harvin, who's one of your top receivers, and his playmaking ability, which is huge. And then you look at what was said last week about Marshawn Lynch and his future in Seattle, which is pending. I think it's definitely a distraction right now in their locker room, and I think it's definitely affecting them on the field and clearly off the field. And I think we're going to find out in the next couple of weeks, how much it's affecting them.
Yeah, I think as Sean alluded to, even if there weren't that many issues per se in the locker room, whenever a team wins the Super Bowl, I feel like there's always added pressure. And obviously there's a lot of big egos on that team, guys that are getting big contracts. Russell Wilson's still in line for a deal, but I know there was a rumor that Marshawn Lynch and Pete Carroll have rarely had conversations this season, and he addressed that by saying that he's gone into the lunchroom, into the locker room, made sure everything's working okay. And I think it is an issue. Obviously, if it's being talked about, clearly there's something going on, but it'll be important for them to address that as the season goes on.
Yeah, it's so difficult to repeat as Super Bowl champions no matter what. Any added distractions against your team just going to make it that much tougher. But Russell Wilson had his 10th game-winning drive of his career. This guy is somebody that the Seattle Seahawks are certainly going to have to rely on moving forward. And if they want any chance to repeat, Russell Wilson is who they're going to have to go through. But let's go ahead and move across the pond at Wembley Stadium as the Atlanta Falcons and Detroit Lions played a tremendous game. Not so good in the first half, but a pretty good second half, 22-21 Lions over the Falcons in London. Do you think there should be an NFL team in London as the NFL just continuing to expand their international presence, so to speak?
I think absolutely not. Not at this point in time. I know in past years there was the European Football League, which was sort of like a D League, per se, for like in the NBA. I don't think that they're ready for one over there. I think maybe that the sport is growing, and I'm sure it is, because they do play games over there every year. It seems more and more. But I don't think that there's any reason to have a team over there, whether it's successful there or not. I just think that when you look at some of the great things about football in the United States is definitely has to be the rivalries. New York and Philadelphia, New York and New England, San Francisco and Seattle. All these teams that aren't too far from each other. Who's going to be a top rival for a team playing in London? So I just think right now I don't think it would work in London, but possibly in the future.
Yeah, I think there is a market for it, and I think it's great that they have an international fan base. You saw at the NFL game they had between the Lions and Falcons, there were fans with every team's jersey on there. But I think, like you said, we talked before the show, maybe it's a good idea down the road to consider a separate division for an international series where they have multiple teams out there, where you could build a fan base out there. But I think it's a good idea, but like you said, right now, not something that you can integrate right away.
Yeah, it seems like it would kind of be a bit of a logistical issue with just one team. Maybe if you're able to get a few teams out there, you might be able to swing something. But that's going to be something to keep an eye on. Week 9 in the NFL coming up. It's going to be a lot of fun. As always, we are just flying through. That's going to do it for the Red Zone Recap, the NFL edition for Sean Fritz and Cody Benjamin. Stay tuned because we're going to keep it here in the Red Zone and move into the world of college football when we return right here on The Big Hit.
Want to learn more about IUP-TV? We have the solution. IUP-TV is now online on Facebook. You can find us by simply searching Facebook for IUP-TV. Once you click like, you can check out your favorite shows on our IUP-TV showcase, view our broadcast schedule, get updates on everything about your favorite station, and tell us how much you love your favorite shows. IUP-TV, not like other stations.
We're Steelers fans.
I'm a Steelers fan.
And we're Steelers fans. We're good sports. I'm a good sport.
I'm a good sport.
We always have
A designated
designated driver.
Steelers fans.
Steelers fans don't let fans drive drunk.
Responsibility
Responsibility
has its rewards. Responsibility has its rewards.
Go!
Go!
Go Steelers!
Go Steelers!
Go Steelers!
Go Steelers!
And welcome back into the Big Hit, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to stick with the football talk here in the Red Zone Recap, but this time we're going to switch gears a bit and move into the world of college football with our Red Zone Recap College Football Edition with our college football analyst on the far side there. It's Freddie Mitchell, and in the middle, it's Chris Hayes. Guys, let's just start here in our own backyard. As Penn State and Ohio State played quite a classic during Penn State's whiteout, a double overtime thriller with Ohio State coming out victorious 31-24. What surprised you the most about this game? Really competitive and back and forth.
Yeah, it was a real competitive game. I mean, I had the privilege of attending the game. Shout out to the linebacker, Naeem Wortman, for getting me tickets. We went to high school together. It was great to see you play, bud. The biggest surprise, though, was the Big Ten officials miscalling an interception that Hackenberg threw that clearly bounced off the ground, and it shouldn't have been an interception at all. That was a big 7-point swing for Ohio State. But the biggest thing for Penn State, they had 2 weeks of practice. Their defense looked great. They held the number 13 team in the nation to 293 yards, and they also had a pick six. That was huge for their defense. But it really Penn State losing came down to their offensive line, which is their Achilles heel right now. They only had 16 yards rushing. Their offensive line is all freshmen. They were just playing in high school football last year. So once they develop and come along a little more, I think we could see Penn State doing bigger and better things in the future.
I agree too. The biggest surprise for me in this game, the fact that Penn State was down 17-0 to a ranked Ohio State team. They came back and tied it 17-17 and went to double overtime. They lost. But it was surprising to me that Penn State was able to come back given their current state. Also, the momentum shifted drastically when Anthony Zetti had that interception return, like you mentioned. And also in that battle of young quarterbacks, Christian Hackenberg for Penn State, JT Barrett for Ohio State. Barrett played better. He had more rushing yards. He had 75 yards, 2 touchdowns. Hackenberg had a decent game, but Barrett came out on top in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. And JT Barrett, despite his good game, still wasn't able to complete those deep balls which Ohio State is accustomed to. And every one of Ohio State's victories prior to this one, JT Barrett's had a touchdown pass of at least 15 yards or more, only 74 yards passing for JT. And give credit to Ohio State, though, able to stop Akil Lynch in that Penn State rushing attack. Penn State not able to get anything going on the ground. Ohio State wins this one, but I think that's becoming quite the rivalry in the Big Ten. But let's go ahead and move on to the Southeastern Conference with Ole Miss and LSU. It was quite a game there, but LSU was able to come out on their home field in Death Valley. But were the Tigers able to expose quarterback Bo Wallace in that Rebels offense following their victory?
I mean, Les Miles said it best. When you come to Death Valley, your dreams come to die, and that's what happened to Ole Miss. They came in undefeated, and they, real defensive battle. It was 7-3 till 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. But I really don't think that Bo Wallace and their whole team was exposed. I mean, people are going to say that because maybe he didn't have as many completions as he should. But this was just a very tough defensive game between both teams. I mean, there's a little blueprint now, I guess you could say, to how you could, match up against Ole Miss and possibly defeat them. But they're definitely not exposed. Bo threw his first interception all season in the SEC play. So to say they're totally exposed, I think, is like a little bit of an overstatement. But there's definitely a blueprint out there of how you can kind of go around and match up with Ole Miss now.
I think Ole Miss was relatively exposed in this game. Coming in, they averaged 35.4 points per game, and they scored 7 in this game. LSU had a tremendous home field advantage, obviously, in Death Valley, one of the toughest places to play in college football. Wallace he only averaged 5.3 yards per attempt. That's really low. He was playing well, like you said, until this game. But like I said, Death Valley is a very tough place to play. He only had a 42% completion percentage. I think Ole Miss can rebound from this loss, but it kind of did expose them in a way.
And Ole Miss had a lot of errors, key late in the game to LSU, and that's what happens when you play in that environment. And LSU, when they were on offense, they had that very key 4th down conversion. I think it was like 4th and 2 right at the end of the game that pushed them forward to score that drive. And then LSU, when they had the ball back, when they were on fourth down, they failed to convert. And then they had another delay of game penalty when they were about to kick a 42-yard field goal to tie the game. So Ole Miss, if you don't have those mistakes and you don't have those small errors, it could be a totally different outcome.
Yeah, a few things going wrong for the Rebels there. The 13-play, 95-yard drive that LSU was able to get was the longest Ole Miss has given up this year. Ole Miss has scored 23 points in every game this year. They were only held to 7, but you have to give a lot of credit to LSU's trio of running backs, Leonard Fournette, Terrence McGee, and Kenny Hilliard, 250 yards combined on 47 carries. They really helped grind out a win for the Tigers there. But let's go ahead and move on to another team, talking about the TCU Horned Frogs, 10th in the nation. And what a game for the Horned Frogs, 82-27. Yes, 82-27 over Texas Tech. What do you make of their performance, and do you think that kind of victory merits a higher rank for the Horned Frogs?
Great victory for the Horned Frogs and TCU. But honestly, we just watched Alabama beat up on Texas Tech as well, so you can tell Texas Tech really isn't one of the best teams in the nation. I think their ranking at 10 is fine right now in the AP poll. If you look in the college football rankings right now, they're ranked number 7. The only 2 teams they beat that were relative have been Baylor, who also lost to West Virginia, and then Oklahoma, who is 19 in the nation. So TCU's schedule isn't strong enough to put them in the top 10 team, and that's just because of the conference they play in, I think, right now. People say the same thing about Notre Dame. Oh, Notre Dame should be ranked higher, but you got to look at the schedule for these teams. TCU does not play all these top dog teams every week in the SEC or in these other conferences. So right now, 10 is fine for them. 7 in the college football ranking is perfect for them for the playoff. As these other teams in the SEC and other big conferences beat up on each other a little bit, and if TCU continues to win, they will rise in the power rankings as all these other teams begin to fall. So they have nothing to worry about.
I agree. Texas Tech, let's just say this, Texas Tech is no Baylor. They're no West Virginia. They're kind of in that bottom tier of the Big 12. And the Big 12, like you said, isn't the best conference. You have the SEC, first of all, and the SEC.
Pac-10, ACC, etc.
Yeah. The TCU, they blew a huge lead to Baylor. Like you said, they lost that game. The win was impressive statistically to me, but, I mean, like 82 points, like you said, and that can't be denied. But I want to see TCU win some consistent games. I want to see them win the rest of the games on their schedule, first of all. And then we'll see where they end up at the end of the season.
Yeah, very hard to overlook a performance like this, though, 82 points. The last time that a Power 5 team was able to score 82 points in a game was Wisconsin back in 2010 when they put up 83 against the Indiana Hoosiers. But let's go ahead and look at the big picture here in college football. Of course, this being recorded on a Tuesday, the College Football Committee selecting and producing their first poll here tonight, probably as we speak. But looking at the AP poll here, Mississippi State, Florida State, Alabama, and Auburn are your top 4. And which one of these teams do you think right now has the best chance to win a national championship?
Oh, man, I don't know. This is, like, so early, and I've been, like, on the fence with all these teams, and you guys always make me pick somebody. Honestly, as of right now, Florida State's undefeated, Mississippi State's looking great. The way the polls stand, and if the season was to end today, I would say you'd have Mississippi State and Florida State in the championship game. I guess Mississippi right now looks in the best position to win.
I mean, it makes sense because they're number 1. Florida State's number 2 right now, but Florida State has the easiest remaining schedule. They're in the ACC. I think those SEC West teams will really beat up on each other. For example, Auburn still has to play Ole Miss this week, then Georgia and Alabama. That's really tough for Auburn. Alabama has a very tough schedule as well, and so does Mississippi State. So I think Florida State has the easiest path to get there, but I don't think they're the best team because they haven't played many good teams except Notre Dame. So I think it'll be Florida State versus an SEC West team. I'll say Mississippi State too, and I think Mississippi State will win that game.
Yeah, we definitely put you guys in a pretty precarious position there, having to pick something so early on in the year. We'll see how things play out. Things probably will work their way out in college football. A lot of football to be played, and we're loving every second of it here on The Big Hit. That's our Red Zone recap, college football style, for Freddie Mitchell and Chris Hayes. Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen, because we're going to head over onto the other side of the studio and talk some sports in our rapid fire segment. We'll be right back.
Today I'm going to talk about Patty. Patty's best characteristics, she's stupid. Stupid and ugly. Everything she does is ugly. Watch her eat. Watch her stuff her face. Look at her. Greasy hair, dirty fingernails. It makes me want to vomit. Get a life, Patty. Thank you.
It's hard to explain. It just became home. There are hundreds of majors and programs, bachelor's degrees to PhDs, small classes and faculty that really get to know you. Amazing internships and everywhere, programs that help to find a job that is right for you. It's what IUP is about, a commitment to your success. See it for yourself. Visit us. Indiana University of Pennsylvania. Find your success.
Welcome to the new and improved edition of our Rapid Fire segment. Myself and my man to my right, Malusi Kitchen, are going to answer 10 questions about all different sports throughout 45 seconds of each topic. If you guys want to cue the graphic to my left here, new and improved graphic, if you could see. Malusi, let's get started right away. What excites you most about the upcoming NBA season?
Derrick Rose, he's coming back. The Bulls are about to be amazing. They're about to give the Cleveland Cavaliers a heck of a challenge in the
So you're telling me there aren't only 3 teams that could win the finals this year?
Absolutely.
It's not just the Spurs, Thunder,
Absolutely.
and Cavs.
Yeah, absolutely.
You really think the Chicago Bulls could give the Cavs a run?
Yes, exactly. Are you serious right now?
I don't think there's any chance. If you see the Cavs have 3 of the best players, if not the best player at their position.
You really think they're going to be able to gel
Kyrie
like
Irving
that?
might be the best point guard in the NBA.
Don't insult Chris Paul like that.
Might be. LeBron James is the best small forward in the NBA, and Kevin Love is the best power forward in the NBA.
But they're not going to click all together. You know they're going to have some type of issues or problems or something like that.
It might take a month or so, but I don't know about that. I think the Cavs got it.
What do you think about the new TV deal between the NBA and TNT?
I'm not excited to be listening to Charles Barkley for a whole nother season, that's for sure. I can't stand listening to
Well, they're not
going to
fire him, I know that much.
Yeah, I mean, EJ kind of holds it down there, but I wish they would not have gone with TNT for more years to come. But I guess I like Marv Albert. He kind of holds it down over there at least.
He's kind of like the glue that brings them all together.
Yeah, so Marv will be able to call the NBA season that consists of only 3 real teams, like we kind of discussed before. But let's move on to the next thing, Malusi. Ray Rice, a big deal in the NFL right now. Do you think they should give him another chance?
Absolutely. I mean, the NFL has been constantly unfair with how they give punishment, so they have to give him another chance. So, I mean, I think it's only the right thing to do.
The only way I look at it is that there are so many guys who have been getting sexual assault charges, obviously domestic violence like Ray Rice, and they haven't really cracked down on any of those guys just because they don't have evidence when we know firsthand that they probably do after seeing what happened with Ray Rice. The thing is, with Ray Rice, he got the immediate suspension. Greg Hardy took him a while to finally crack down on him. Adrian Peterson got an immediate suspension. So I think they should, if not give Ray Rice another chance, get rid of all these other guys as well.
Yeah, or at least if you're going to give punishment, make it fair in all aspects of the game. Like you can't, like Alden Smith has had problems, and he hasn't done anything like that.
Right.
So, Kyle, do you think this was a good year for the NCAA to implement their playoffs?
I think it was a great year for the NCAA to implement playoffs simply because the 4 top teams are set in stone right now. If these teams can continue to perform the way that they've been performing, it is clear cut that these are the 4 best teams in college football. The 5th and 6th ranked teams will not be able to complain at all about the rankings or anything, just kind of like the 3rd and 4th teams would always complain in years past that they didn't get a shot at the BCS title. This year it's going to be fair. The teams that are in it, at least as of now, are clearly the 4 best teams.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's been a great idea, and it's better than, analysts or whoever is picking, whatever team they go, because that's just not fair.
Yeah, I couldn't fathom at this point, at least in Oregon, complaining because they lost to Arizona.
Right.
Teams Notre Dame will be able to make a case for themselves.
Most teams in the top 4 have 1 loss anyway, so.
Right, yeah, but there's one team that we know is definitely not going to be in the top 4, and it's USC, Malusi. What do you think is wrong with the USC program that's been great for years, and now they suck?
They're just terrible. I mean, they have fallen off the map. They're irrelevant. I mean, for such a great program, I don't know, it might be their head coaching staff. They just have no stability. I mean, it's a lot of things, actually, that's helped them, come into this demise.
To me, it's got to be the fact that they lost scholarships for a little while with the whole Reggie Bush scandal. They lost the chance to play in bowl games. If you're a recruit, you're not going to go to a team like USC that can't play in a bowl game when you could go to a team in the same conference like Oregon that can. So I think now you'll start to see them climb back up in the rankings. Everybody thought it was going to be this year that they were going to, but I think it's going to take them a couple more years to gather some good recruits because over the past few years they just haven't been able to with the whole Reggie Bush thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're moving on hockey. So what do you think about fighting in hockey?
If there's fighting in hockey, I think there should be fighting in every sport.
Oh, now you just think there's mayhem, complete mayhem, don't
because
you?
you see with people like us who aren't big hockey fans, kind of like Mike Gosnell and Ben Snyder are two big hockey guys. You know, not many people are huge hockey fans anymore. And I think one thing that brings people like us into the sport is the fact that they can fight.
Right.
People like to see stuff like that. People
Absolutely.
like to see aggression. If you can fight in hockey, you might as well be able to fight in football too. I mean, you might as well just let it happen.
That might be a little bit different situation right there.
Certainly, but you know, I mean, I guess the hockey guys wear more pads. It's harder to fight on ice and stuff like that. But
too many concussions for them.
A punch is a punch.
A punch, yeah, but they're punching helmets.
If you can fight in hockey, you should be able to fight in football.
Okay.
On to the next thing. You see there was a good match between Real Madrid beating Barcelona 3-1, arguably the two biggest soccer clubs in the world this past weekend. Which brings up the question, do you think soccer will ever be this popular in the U.S.?
Absolutely not. There's no way it's going to happen. It's just football is, tackles, pads, and over in the world, it's just, football is life. I mean, there's no way you can compete with that.
The only reason that I think soccer has a chance of becoming popular is because the video game FIFA is as popular as it has become. Certain
people play it all the time.
It's insane. As sad as it is to say a video game is going to kind of carry the sport itself is rough, but it's how people are learning the players. You see how good the World Cup did.
They don't have any marketable stars.
Right, but the only thing is the three most valuable sports franchises in all the world are soccer franchises. So it's going to be tough for other sports to compete.
So you're talking about stars now. So what's your take on all these U.S. Olympians letting us down over the years?
I can't even begin to talk about it. You have Lance Armstrong, who obviously let us down with the whole steroids incident. Michael Phelps doing whatever he does.
I don't know what has gotten into him. He has just been a complete train wreck ever since he's supposedly retired from Olympian play. But DUIs, just unacceptable. I mean, you're supposed to be an example, but it just doesn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are out of control. If people don't like the U.S. as it is already, and it kind of relies on some athletes in the spotlight to make people like the U.S. And people like Michael Phelps and Lance Armstrong certainly aren't helping our cause at all. On to the next thing, Malusi. What do you think about the World Series so far? We haven't talked baseball yet.
It's been very unexpected. No one expected no one expected the Royals to be in the World Series. I mean, we could see the Giants because of the even years and, whatever magic they have up their sleeves, but it's been absolutely phenomenal. Bumgarner has been putting on an amazing performance, and we're going to a Game 7.
I think this is exactly what you needed. You have a team in the Giants who has a fan base that's been behind them for the past 5 years now. They've been in and out of the World Series. And you have a Royals fan base that's brand new to the whole situation. They haven't made the playoffs since 1985. So you have two great fan bases colliding, one that's used to being there, one that's new. I think it helps the game. This series might be pushing 7 games now. You have Madison Bumgarner, who's setting all sorts of pitching records in the World Series. But one thing that might not be as great as what's happening in the World Series is what happened to Oscar Taveras, the Cardinals rookie, over the weekend. Unfortunately, he passed away in a car accident. We'd first like to send our condolences to his family, the Cardinals organization, anyone out there who cared for Oscar Taveras like we did.
Just a sad event. I mean, player gone too soon, and you would think, it just shows you life's too short sometimes,
Absolutely, Malusi. This is a guy who had a great rookie season, kind of up and down from the majors and the minors, but this is a guy who I planned on telling my kids about 20 years from now. You missed out on a great career.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of like a Len Bias type thing, with it's just sad, good players died too young, and
it almost makes you think before you criticize an athlete now. Anything could happen at any time. But guys, that's all the time we have here. Malusi, I think we did a pretty good job for our first time.
I think we pulled it out for the first time. We're going to get it better as we go on.
We'll get better, guys, we promise. But we're going to send it over to the NBA special, where our guys will preview top to bottom the NBA divisions throughout the rest of the season. We'll be right back.
Prepared, because sometimes technology doesn't always work, so we do what we can.
Hey, Sean, hit him up.
This just in, Tim Tebow just got inducted to the Hall of Fame. That's not right.
Maybe we need to prepare just a little more.
Success. We see it every day. Hundreds of majors and programs, bachelor's degrees to PhDs, small classes, internationally known faculty who are committed to your success. Real-world experiences to guide you on your career and life path, an alumni network 120,000 strong. I'm IUP President Mike Driscoll. Visit us. Find your success at Indiana University of Pennsylvania.
Hello and welcome to Crashing the Boards. I'm your host Vaughn Delzon. With me we got some NBA junkies. Over here we got Kelsey Howell, Dakota London, and Will Gaucher. Tonight, guys, it's the first night of NBA season. I hope you guys are excited as I am. The first question, this is about Will's favorite team, the New York Knicks. Can Phil Jackson and Derek Fisher help the struggling New York Knicks become an elite team in this year NBA?
Well, not in this year NBA because they don't have the pieces around. They have the new triangle offense. They have Carmelo at the head of the offense. But the thing with the triangle offense, they need a lot of big postmen, a lot of good postmen. Actually, they have Samuel Dahmer, who they just got from the Mavericks. They also picked up Jose Ryan. They traded away Raymond Felton and Tyson Chandler. So unless they get a dominant postman, I don't think the triangle offense will work this year.
Yeah, I pretty much agree. I think they're still going to take some time. I think Phil will, cover a lot of flaws that are in that team. But even though the East doesn't seem that, competitive, and they still might get in the playoffs, I just don't see them being, a real elite team. They just have too many holes in that offense. And I will say this, I think Phil will, really die down a lot of the drama that surrounded the team. Last year, it was a whole bunch of off-of-the-field drama and stuff like that. But I don't see them being that big of an impact this season, but I think once they really get a big man, like you said, or, some more shooters, they'll, really start to have an effect.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with both of you. I think we're all in agreement here that New York Knicks are still about 2 to 3 years away. I mean, they picked up Samuel down there, Shane Larkin, Jose Calderon sent a couple other players down to Dallas. But when you think of elite teams, some teams come to mind. Cleveland, of course, the Chicago, Spurs, always threat to win it. Oklahoma City, and New York Knicks just don't fit that mold right now. So they're about 2 to 3 years away. We'll see what the Zen Master has planned for the future.
I agree with you guys. That was all good information you guys gave. I feel like they are 2 years away. I want to see what they do in free agency first, because that's the big thing. They have to get rid of the massive contract Amari Stoudemire's holding, very overpaid. They have to bring in some more talent to help Carmelo out, because the reason he stayed, he wanted his money and he wanted a championship, and that's what he's there playing for. But in the conference, I want you guys to name the one player to watch in the Atlantic Conference.
I have DeMar DeRozan. Last year, he had his breakout year. He averaged 23 points a game. This year, with the Toronto Raptors looking like at least a top 3 team in the East, DeMar DeRozan can come out, average about 20. I think he can average about 23, 24 a game, and improve his three-point shooting, because he started shooting more last year, but he really didn't shoot that well, and he's always been consistent from the free throw line. So DeMar DeRozan is one player to watch.
Well, I'm going to go with Darren Williams from the Nets. Darren, he's seemed to have digressed the last couple of years. He's had the ankle problems. But I think this year he's made a more concerted effort to assure that he was going to be a lot better. He looked pretty good during the preseason. And, with Paul Pierce not being there, he may be more of an offensive threat. And, they get Brook back. So I think if Darren comes out, because I believe he gets that team to go, if Darren comes out and he plays well, then the Nets will have that much better to have success.
I'm taking my passport and I'm going back up north with you, Kelsey, and I'm going with Kyle Lowry. Since coming to the Raptors 2 years ago, he's averaged about 15 points a game. And interesting stat here, he has an 11.7 win share. Now, win share is players' total wins throughout a season, and the contributing factor is offensive production and defensive production. So out of the 48 wins last year, Kyle Lowry was responsible for a quarter of those, or 12 wins. So you gotta watch out for Kyle Lowry. He's firing on all cylinders, and he has Toronto believing again since the Vince Carter days. I mean, let's go.
I see you guys like Toronto, but I'm with Dakota. I'm going down Brooklyn.
There you go.
I like Mason Plumlee for this reason only. He got a lot of experience this year in Team USA, and the main reason is Brook Lopez is back. So he's going to require a lot of double teams, and that's going to open up the doors for Mason Plumlee this year to excel and be that second-year player that they hope he would be. Moving on to one of the most interesting divisions, though, the Central. Oh, yeah. The Bulls and Cavaliers reload their rosters. They got some back. So do you guys think this will be the most interesting rivalry this year?
I think it's going to be the most competitive rivalry, but interesting. I have Miami versus the Cavaliers, just because LeBron left Miami in a way that the Heat fans didn't really like, even though he's going back home. But they meet first game in Christmas Day. The Bulls now, them and Cavaliers will be competing for the #1 spot in their division. But when the Heat see the Cavaliers and vice versa, I think they'll be really good games.
I would have to say I think that'll be definitely the best rivalry. I do agree the Miami Cavaliers story is, extremely interesting because of LeBron facet. But if you think about it, LeBron has been sort of the kryptonite to the Bulls for quite some time. Even when his last year in Cleveland, this year's in Cleveland, and once he joined Miami, he seemed to give them problems. And now Rose seems to be healthy. So if Rose is healthy, and then LeBron is healthy, and they're both in the same division, that could really heat up and be a huge matchup. And they're both going to fight for that first place spot. And you got the Paul Gasol addition, you got them adding Kevin Love in Cleveland, so it'll be a really, really good matchup, and I'm excited for it. I do think that'll be the best rivalry.
One word: hatred. Now, everybody knows that the Bulls hate LeBron. LeBron, he doesn't really come out and say it. He hates the Bulls too. So it should be interesting with these two teams. They both have reloaded. We have Derrick Rose back, of course. Everybody's excited for that. Paul Gasol, as you had said, Doug McDermott, a rookie coming in, should contribute a lot. But then you look at Cleveland and what they have done. Dan Gilbert made those trips down to Miami. He's talking to LeBron, lures him back. Kyrie Irving's going to be a better player. Dion Waiters, Kevin Love. It should be fun. Let's just say that. But the blood is boiling. Can't wait for that.
Hatred's a very good word to describe that. But yeah, it reminds me a lot of last year when it was the Heat and the Pacers. There's the 1 and 2. Everyone's like, these are the two teams. They hate each other, going to play hard. Now it's the Bulls and the Cavs, I feel like. And that's going to be interesting to me because, as you said, both teams do not like each other. It's going to be hard, tough fought, low scoring most likely. So it's going to be a great series to watch these teams play a couple times this year. And give me your guys' players to watch in this division.
I have actually LeBron James to watch. I had a different pick earlier, but honestly, I want to see LeBron in the new atmosphere. I did have Kyrie, but I have them as a dual combination because Kyrie will be starting off new this year with a new set of cast, and so will LeBron. So I think both of them guys have to play off each other, but I have a combination of LeBron and Kyrie as my players to watch.
Well, for me, I'm staying with the same team. I'm going to go with Kevin Love. I think Kevin Love will have the most trouble with the integration of joining that team. LeBron's going to get his. Kyrie is the point guard, so he's going to be able to distribute and whatnot. But I think Kevin Love is going to have the biggest struggle because his offensive touches are going to decrease, and the eye is going to be on him more to have a defensive prowess. And before, when he was with the Timberwolves, it wasn't as big a deal because it was like, oh, well, it's Kevin Love, he averages 26 and 12. But now you're on a team where LeBron and David Blatt are going to demand that he perform as well on defense. So I think he's going to be the player to watch.
The Greek Freak. Giannis Antetokounmpo. He is a 6'11" point guard. Jason Kidd is letting him run free, it seems. He only averaged 6.8 points a game last year, but from the hype and what I've been hearing around, seems like he's going to be a special player. They're calling for him to be an all-star. Now, this young man, he's talented and he's hard-working. Last year for a game, he missed his cab and ran to the arena. Luckily, he didn't have to run all the way, but a couple had saw him and drove him to the arena. So he's a hard-working and talented player. You combine those two, should be something special up there in Milwaukee.
I like the Greek Freak. I'm a big fan of him. But I'm also a big fan of Andre Drummond because I think that he is one of the most talented big men in the NBA right now. He averaged 13 and 13 last year. Doesn't get much better than that when you ask for your center. But the only thing is the Pistons are not a good team. And they're going to focus their core around him and rebuild around him. He's going to get a massive contract this year. So I feel like he's the player to watch for myself. And we're going to move on to the Southeast Conference. And the Miami Heat, as you guys heard, he doesn't have LeBron James anymore. So who do you guys think is the best team in this division now?
I have the Washington Wizards as the best team. Right now, Bradley Beal is hurt for about a month because of a broken wrist. But as of now, they have the most talent and the most overall skill out of all the teams in the division. With Miami losing LeBron, they lost a lot of pieces. They picked up Luol Deng and they picked up Danny Granger, but I don't think you can replace LeBron with that. So with Washington, it's just adding Paul Pierce, adding that veteran leadership. He will actually help develop Otto Porter, who didn't play well last year, but with Paul Pierce coming in to give him that veteran leadership, he's going to shine, and I think they'll come out to be the best team in the division.
Yeah, I happen to agree with you. I think it's the Washington Wizards. And for much like you said, I think LeBron covered up a lot of flaws in Miami's team last year, and now you don't have that. And you can add some smaller pieces, but the fact of it is you really can't replace four-time MVP. So I think for the biggest thing is their front court with Gortat and Nene is extremely underrated, but they are a terrific front court with size and can also score. I think they're going to have a huge impact. John Wall and Bradley Beal really came along in the playoffs last year, and they really took steps forward. And I know even though Beal was out for a month, I think once the season gets going, now that they've had some playoff experience and they've got the experience of playoffs, they're going to want to go back. I think they are the best team. I think Miami is still a threat, and you can't ever not count them in. They have too much championship pedigree, but at the same time, I think the Wizards are clearly the best team in that division.
I'm gonna go down to a personal vacation spot of mine, Buzz City, Charlotte. Okay, now they have rebuilt their team, and Noah Vonleh came in as a pick. They also picked up P.J. Harrison in the draft, but the biggest free agent addition, born ready, Lance Stevenson. He's gonna change that dynamic of that whole city. Trust me and believe when I say that.
I like the Wizards too, as you guys said. All the reasons, their front court and their back court are both terrific. They have Paul Pierce now, but I do agree the Hornets are right behind them now. And real quick, give me your guys' players to watch in this division also.
Well, like you said, Will, I think Lance Stevenson. Last year with the Pacers, he was able to get a bunch of triple-doubles, but now playing with Al Jefferson, Kemba Walker, Gerald Henderson, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, I think he'll be able to really expand his game.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be Al Jefferson. A lot of people he got scrutinized a lot because they felt he wasn't deserving of that contract that he received. But even in the series against Miami, until he got hurt, he was looking really good and causing a lot of damage. I think Jefferson will be the biggest impact for them to move forward, even despite Lance's addition.
I'm going up to Washington this time, and I'm going with Bradley Beal. Even though he's out for the first month of the season, that's a dead-eye shooter. 40% from three-point last year, 17.1 points a game. I think that him and John Wall together, he's really running that, I believe. But that's my player to watch.
I like what you said with Lance Stevenson. He led the league in triple-doubles last year. Him, Al Jefferson, Kemba Walker can be a small big three. I'm not going to call them a big three yet because they have to prove that's what they are. But, gentlemen, great job on the Eastern Conference. We're going to go to a commercial break and come back for the Western Conference preview. And stay tuned. This is the big hit.
How are they going to watch this when you are just in La La Land? This is embarrassing.
Is that bad?
Look at you.
I thought this was a pretty good segment.
Did you?
Yeah.
Do you even know what they're saying?
No.
You're putting your foot up on set. Do you just think this is a couch? This is embarrassing. I mean, even here, you're starting to interrogate somebody. Look at you. Turn your back to the camera. That's embarrassing. Where's your suit and tie? You have a Pirates shirt on.
They made the playoffs.
I don't care. You can't be biased. This is ridiculous. Ay, Dios mío.
We're Steelers fans.
I'm a Steelers fan.
And we're Steelers fans. We're good sports. I'm a good sport.
I'm a good sport.
We always have
a designated
driver.
Steelers fans.
Steelers fans don't let fans drive drunk. Responsibility has its rewards. Responsibility has its rewards.
Go!
Steelers! Go Steelers!
Go Steelers!
And welcome back to Crashing the Boards. And now, gentlemen, we'll preview the Western Conference, the deepest conference in the NBA. Now, as you guys might have heard, Kevin Durant is out for 2 months this season with a foot injury. How detrimental is this to the Oklahoma City Thunder?
I think it's really detrimental, but I think it's detrimental to Russell Westbrook's career. Right now, everybody knows him as a scoring point guard, but he has to be the team leader. I think for the first couple weeks, they'll be kind of off because he's going to try to score at least 30 points a game, but he needs to get everybody else involved, Jeremy Lamb, and they just got Anthony Morrow, who's an efficient three-point shooter. So unless Westbrook is able to pass the ball efficiently, I think their team's going to go downhill the first couple weeks.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to struggle because you really can't replace Kevin Durant. But I think it'll be extremely interesting to see how Russell does as the now alpha male. He's always had this mindset that he feels he's the best player on the floor at all times, even if KD's on the floor. So it'll be interesting to see if he's able to keep that mentality up. And, he plays really, aggressive and strong, goes strong to the rim, and a little, violent sometimes, and it'll be interesting to see if he could, try to dive back because now he is the one and only true option. And like you said, he needs to get his teammates involved. If he doesn't get his teammates involved, they're not going to have much success.
1,400 minutes in 46 games last year. 41 of those were played without Kevin Durant. The Thunder are in trouble right now. Russell Westbrook can't do it on his own. He needs help. And keeping James Harden, I felt a couple years ago, everybody always looks back to that. that comes into play right now because then he has somebody else that he can go to. Serge Ibaka is okay, but he's not a shouldering load. He's not going to get you volume scoring like they need. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, I definitely think the Thunder need a better two guard to complete that roster. I think Steven Adams is going to step up this year. He's going to be a better center than Perkins is. I feel like Ibaka needs to take his game next level. He needs to average at least 20 points with Durant absent because Westbrook's going to get his 30. You know he's going to go for 30 every night. It's going to be tough for them to transition without him because it's easier when Westbrook's out and Durant's carrying the load because he's one of the better. He's probably the second best player in the NBA in all of our minds, most likely. But you're one player to watch in Northwest Conference. Who would it be?
I have Andrew Wiggins because right now he got traded from the Cavs, and right now he's not really looking as like that true #1 pick because you got Jabari Parker, #2, is probably going to average 18 points. But Andrew Wiggins, he needs to come out and show his athleticism, show his defense, show him why Timberwolves wanted him over Kevin Love.
I have LaMarcus Aldridge. I think LaMarcus is the heart of the Portland Trail Blazers. And I know even though Damian really made leaps and bounds in his progression throughout the playoffs, he hit the crazy buzzer beater. But LaMarcus is the heart of that team, and if he goes, that team goes. I think without him, they're not going to have much to little any success. So LaMarcus is definitely the player to watch for me.
I'm going to go back to the Thunder, and I'm going to say Russell Westbrook, only because his volume scoring, 21 points a game last year, 2 steals. And Kelsey had brought up the point that he has to dish it out. Well, he averaged 7 assists last year. So, I mean, and in the playoffs, he averaged almost 9. So, I mean, to watch him and how he develops without Kevin Durant for really the first time in his career, it should be interesting to watch.
I like the picks, but I'm going different. I'm going the Manimal, Kenneth Faried. 5-year, $60 million contract extension. That's big. That comes with a lot of expectations for a team that scores a lot of points. So I definitely think that he's going to have to rebound a lot more. He was such a big help to Team USA this summer on the boards and everything with DeMarcus Cousins. I feel like he needs to transition that to the Nuggets now because they're going to take a lot of shots this year. But moving on to an exciting, very exciting division, the Pacific. The Clippers and the Warriors, they're the powerhouses, if you guys agree. Now, the Lakers, Suns, and Kings have missed the playoffs the last year. Do you guys think any of them can make a playoff push?
The Suns can, just because they have the 3-headed monsters at the point guard position. You just got Isaiah Thomas. You just picked him up from the Kings, signed him to a long year deal. You just signed Eric Bledsoe, and they still have Goran Dragic, who's actually in a contract year right now. So right now, that 3-headed monster they have, and they still have the Morris twins. So I think they have the best potential to make the playoffs. It's going to be tough in that division, but they have the best chance out of both those teams.
Yeah, I agree for pretty much the same reasons. You got Bledsoe, you got Dragic, and you have Isaiah Thomas. I think that he was a huge addition for them. I think they really came along last year, and they really made leaps and bounds. And I think if they keep it up, they have the best chance. Like you said, it'll be tough because the West is just packed. But if any team, as a maybe 7th, 8th seed, I think it could be them.
I actually have the Suns and the Kings that can make the playoffs. I'll tell you why. DeMarcus Cousins, everybody knows him. He gets those boards. He puts up points. But then you also have Rudy Gay, who's been tossed around the league like nobody's business. He just can't seem to find a home, and he finally seems like he's found one in Sacramento. Losing Isaiah Thomas, there are some comments made in the offseason that he was a ball hog and ball stopper, and so freeing that up, bringing in Darren Collison might help out a little bit more. Then down to Phoenix, Eric Bledsoe, he just signed his new contract extension or new deal. And then they might be running a 3-guard system, it seems like, down there. And that should be interesting to watch. So you got to watch out for those 2 teams.
I like it. I like the Phoenix Suns. I think that they just missed the playoffs last year, missing out to the Memphis Grizzlies and the Dallas Mavericks. I think they have a shot, but it's going to be very tough this year. I like the 3-headed point guards they have. I want to see what Alex Len can do for this team, though. He was a big early pick last year, and he needs to rebound and get boards for them because, let's face it, those 3-point guards are going to take a lot of shot, and the Morris twins like to shoot threes. Gerald Green likes to shoot threes, so they're going to have to really transition. He's going to have to be a big component to that team. But player to watch in the Pacific.
I have Klay Thompson. Right now, he's also in the contract year, and he went from averaging 18 points a game last year. Every year, his points went up. And this year, I think the Splash Brothers together, they're going to make a big splash. I think they both can average 20 points a game, both shooting over 40% from the field. So I'm having my eyes on Klay Thompson this year.
For me, it's going to be Jamal Crawford. I think Jamal Crawford really assists the Clippers in going. I think if any year is their year, is this year. This is their opportunity. Blake progressed so much as an all-around player last year, and this is the time for them. And I think if Jamal could average maybe 15 again like he did last year, or maybe go 15 to maybe 17 points per game, they have the chance to win the West. I think they could actually represent the West NBA Finals.
I'm going with the 40th best player in the NBA, and that is Kobe Bryant. Now, if anybody can name 39 other better players than Kobe Bryant on a court any given day, please let me know. As long as Kobe Bryant is in the league, he is going to be the best player on that court, other than when he's going up against LeBron and KD, of course. But the disrespect that I've just been sensing from everybody around about Kobe, he's back. Everybody's talking about Derrick Rose. Kobe's back. I mean, come on, third in scoring going to be this year. He's going to pass MJ. And nobody's respecting him. We'll see what the old man can do.
Yeah, I'm certainly excited to see what Kobe Bryant can do. But I'm going back to Phoenix on the reasons we just spoke of Eric Bledsoe. I think that the three-headed monster, he got a 5-year, $70 million contract extension, which is a very large contract in Phoenix. You haven't seen that since the likes of Amari Stoudemire. So I think that he can help them get back to the playoffs for the first time since 2009, which has been a pretty long playoff drought. And moving on to the Southwest Division, arguably the toughest division in basketball. There's 5 teams, 4 made the playoffs. Out of those, the one team that didn't, the New Orleans Pelicans. Do you guys think this is the toughest division in the NBA?
I think so, and you can't sleep on New Orleans this year. They added Omar Ashik, who's going to help take a lot of pressure off of Anthony Davis. They still have Drew Holiday, still have Tyreke Evans and Eric Gordon. So I think there will be a better team, but this is the toughest division because you still have the Spurs, who are the champions, and the Mavs increased the talent in their team dramatically. So this probably is the best division in the NBA.
I don't even think it's much of a question. This is undoubtedly the toughest division. You got the Spurs, the Mavericks, Houston, and Memphis. They're all good. And think about it, they all play good defense, except maybe for Houston. But they're all dangerous teams. And the Mavericks they gave the Spurs a run for their money in the playoffs. So the Pelicans have a lot of potential, but I just think they're in a product that they're just in the one division you don't want to be in, because it's just, I can't see them getting past any of those 4 teams.
I definitely have to agree with you too. Toughest division by far. I mean, good God, you throw any team anywhere. Like you said, the AC Mavericks gave the Spurs the best run for their money during the whole playoff run. Better than the finals. That's what it was, and that was the first round matchup. But the Pelicans, you have to watch out for them. Anthony Davis really showed us, the whole world, what he has in the FIBA championships this year. So they can interchange too with Memphis this year. You just got to watch out for anybody. They're all coming.
Yeah, I think we're all on a unanimous decision here. I think this is the toughest division in basketball, and I think it's going to be hard for the Pelicans to make playoffs, but I think they're very capable of it. And again, players to watch in this division.
I have Anthony Davis. Just what I mentioned earlier with Omar Ashik, Anthony Davis doesn't have to D up any more centers anymore. He can just roam around the paint with the stretch fours and the smaller centers in the league. He's going to come out and try to win Defensive Player of the Year. Had his best season in his career. He only been in the league for 2 to 3 years. So I think he's a player to watch.
I have to agree. It's definitely Anthony Davis. His player efficiency rating was only behind LeBron's, KD's, and Kevin Love. So he is dangerous, and he's a legit MVP candidate. He's athletic. He's the best shot blocker in the game, and he averages a double-double. He is a real threat, and he's phenomenal.
I'm going to have to go with the group of players, and this is going to be the big 4, San Antonio Spurs. Now, when you watch them play, the ball movement, the cutting, the passing, the screens, it's artistry in basketball. That's what you hope for. Now, everybody's picking them to win the NBA Finals, but they're not picking them because of their age. And I don't know why. I know some 60-year-olds that could play right with me. So I definitely have to go with the big 4.
I like where you guys went. I love Anthony Davis, but I'm going to go with my biggest free agent pick of the year, and that was Chandler Parsons. I feel like he's going to provide that 1-2-3 punch with Monte and Dirk this year. I think the Mavericks are going to take their game to the next level and be a lot higher of a seed than an 8 seed they were last year. But gentlemen, you guys did a fantastic job. It was a pleasure doing this with you guys. Sure. And that's all the time we have. I'm Vaughn Delzell. It's Kelsey Howell, Dakota London, Will Gaucher, and we're going to send it to Kyle Kondor in the 2-minute drill.
Listen, all I'm saying is LeBron James is better than Michael Jordan.
Students in communications media at Indiana University of Pennsylvania can focus on a variety of areas, including media promotions. Our promotion students learn their skills by working in a hands-on environment, gaining real-world experience. They learn how to use media to promote, produce, and manage events, and how media organizations operate. They create promotional campaigns and help clients pitch their services, products, and events. With excellent classes led by experienced teachers, the Communications Media Department at IUP is perfect for students interested in media promotions.
Hi all, yet again it's Kyle D. Kondor at your service, and this 2-minute drill is going to be a special one because I'm sure you all know what's right around the corner. Yep, you probably didn't guess it. It's No Shave November. Of course, I won't be able to contribute as much as some other males. In fact, there aren't many notable beards on this show in general. Alright, so let me speak for myself, and for some other great beards in sports, like Tim Howard, James Harden, Brian Wilson, Kimbo Slice. Do you remember that guy? For crying out loud, the entire 2013 Red Sox team had a campaign that revolved around fearing the beard. But I think it's safe to say that most of those guys participated in no shave ever, as opposed to just boycotting a razor for 1 month. On a serious note though, No Shave November is meant to raise cancer awareness. So men, don't shave next month. And there's one more thing I wanted to address this week. DeMarco Murray is having a season to remember during a contract year with the Dallas Cowboys. In fact, he's on pace to beat Jim Brown's single-season rushing record by 3 yards. So you'd think he's got a large load of money coming his way next year. Think again. Murray has 748 carries in his career. At 26 years old, that's the most for any back his age or younger. So rumor has it, teams are going to shy away from him next season due to the wear and tear factor. Almost makes you wonder whether or not Georgia running back Todd Gurley purposely got caught signing autographs for money just so his draft stock wouldn't drop from taking too many carries. I'll leave you on that thought. For producers Malushi Kitchen, Ben Snyder, and myself, and director Michael Mattingly Martone, this is The Big Hit. We'll see you next week.